folks, are you having a good time? Because if you're a sim racer like me, you're probably having an awesome time right now, because it's a great time to be a sim racer, because of course we have had updates galore to a lot of the major sims recently, and there's more on the way on the lead up to Christmas. R-Factor 2 has had its loading times decreased, so you get to the track quicker. Assetto Corsa Composizione had a big improvement to its physics, tyre physics, and also a new car in the shape of the BMW M4, and it's brilliant. And of course, Automobilista 2 that we're in right now by Reezy Studios had the big update 1.3.0.0, an update that changed so much fundamentally about the game I could never fit it all into one video, because it's changed every single vehicle. And since then they've gone further, and we're now on version 1.3.1.0, which brought further physics changes and also the new racing DLC pack, which I've already had a look at in another video. But as I said in the first video that I made about the most significant update, which was 1.300, and what that did to every car in terms of the physics, in terms of what happened to the differential, the driveline and the tyres, I said that I just couldn't fit it all into one video. So today I'm going to have a look at something else that's changed. One of the other things, what else has changed? What else has really improved? And, well, in this video, it's this. The Chevrolet Corvette C3. Great big American muscle car, very powerful, and I was expecting it to be a lot of fun when it first came out. This car, of course, came out before the big update, and I was really looking forward to it. And then I got in the sim and I tried it, and it was a bit of a letdown. However, I'm very happy to say that update 1.3.0.0 and the updates after that have really improved this car. So to show you what I mean, we're going to go to Virginia International Raceway over in the US, because the last time I wanted to test out a big American muscly road car, rear-wheel drive road car in this sim, I took, it was another Chevrolet. Actually, I took the Chevrolet Camaro here, and so this time I'm taking another big heavy American muscle car there. Well, I say big and heavy, this car weighs just over 1.5 tons. The Chevrolet Camaro SS is a lot more modern, but that's actually even heavier, where weighs in at about 1.75 tons. The other thing that's an interesting fact about this car is it actually has a weight distribution. Even though it's a big front engine car, it has a weight distribution which is ever so slightly tilted towards the rear. And I thought, really, when I found this out, I went on some Chevrolet C3 owners forums and enthusiast forums, and there were loads of guys on there and folks just saying, oh yeah, no, actually some of the 1973 small block Chevys were actually slightly heavier at the back end. Don't know why that is. Maybe it's because of the huge, great big rear axle. If you know, let me know in the comments. But I'm just going to pop this on a default setup, because I'm on a custom one at the moment, to show you one of the big things that's really changed about this car. So, the problem with this car, and the big letdown for me when I first tried this car, is that you've got 305 horsepower, loads of torque, and I could not get the rear wheels to spin up. Couldn't get them to spin up at all. And then I think there was a small update, and that improved ever so slightly, but literally it was just, a quick slip of the wheels and you were off. Now, after the big updates, it's a bit different. Because, and I knew that, hang on a minute, you can do that with these cars, because, Joe Biden, the American president, he owns a Stingray from around the same era as this. I don't even think it's got about as similar horsepower, or not even as much as this. It's he's got an open top one. He's no spring chicken, is he? But I saw him put his foot down in his in a video that I saw floating around the internet, and he spun up his rears. And I've seen plenty of videos of people mucking about with these and doing burnouts and donuts and all sorts. So I was really disappointed, but I'm very glad to say that's all changed now. Because watch this. There you go. There's your horsepower, there's your torque, there's your wheel spin. So I'm really happy about that now, because that's what I always expected about this car. And as we approach this corner here, just to exemplify the point even more, do you like donuts? Here's a couple. There you go! There's your donuts! Brilliant! In fact, let's just see. You just simply couldn't do that before. Let's see how that looks on the replay. We'll just wind it onto the point where we took off, which is about here, I think. So, come on, there we go. There we go. Look at that. There's your wheel spin. There's your tyre smoke. Having a bit of a diff wobble as it goes off there. Straightens itself out. Let's fast forward it down to the corner. And there's your donuts. Look at that. I'm so chuffed. It's, you know, it's like Reza released this car a little bit too early, and now they've perfected it. It's brilliant. I'm so happy with that. Talking of donuts and food, by the way, this car was actually manufactured back in the 70s about 450 miles west of Virginia in a place called Bowling Green, Kentucky. Now, Bowling Green, Kentucky sounds great to me, because, you know, you can come to Bowling Green, Kentucky. You can buy yourself a Chevrolet C3, drive real fast. But then, when you want to simmer down some, slow yourself down there, you can have a nice, relaxing, slow game of bowls on our Bowling Green. Then, because you're in Kentucky, if you're a bit peckish, you can sink your teeth into some beautiful, succulent southern fried chicken. Oh, better stop, because I'm going to start getting hungry. Anyway, back to the car. So, that's changed, and I'm really happy about it. The other thing that I didn't like about the car is the only way I could get the back end out was through lift-off oversteer, which it had rather a lot of. And that was even before the changes, the physics changes to the differential, which helped the differential open up. Now, it's still got a little bit of that, so if we come around this corner here and I'll lift off, there you go, a little bit of lift off oversteer, but not catastrophic amounts. It just seems so much more balanced now. But of course now you can also get the back end out under power, which you just couldn't do before. So I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. And it's just, it made me want to, you know, I spent about half a day just driving around in this car. I just didn't want to drive it before. It didn't turn me on at all, and now I'm hooked on it. So when I really, as you probably all do if you sim races, when you like a car, you like to muck around with it a bit. So I decided to muck around with some setups, and I decided that I wanted it to corner even better than it does. Of course, it is a big American muscle car. It does quite like going in straight lines. So I made myself a setup. So let's just go and find that setup, and I'll show you what I did. And if you want to try this out for yourselves, give it a go. Tell me how you feel about it in the comments. What I did is you might think this setup is called Balanced Fun 100. You might be looking at the anti-roll bars now and thinking, balanced? Why did you call it that? You've taken all of the anti-roll bar off the front and put it all the way up as far as it will go to 30 on the back end. But, you know, the difference between 0 and 30, if it was the difference between 0 and 150, it would be a huge difference. But this car isn't that adjustable because it's a road car. But it has given it a bit more, it'll you know, steers into corners better. But also there's not too much, the reason I called it balanced is because I didn't want it to lift off oversteer a hell of a lot as well. So, and this setup was made for the purposes of this video, because I didn't want it to be unmanoeuvrable and just trying to drift by itself all the time. But there was a couple of corners I wanted to show you on here where you can drift. So to balance all of that out a bit, I've taken off the slow rebound on the rear as low as it'll go, so it'll stop those tyres pushing back when you come off the throttle. Because if I take it a little bit too far in a drift and I'm thinking, oh, I've gone a bit too far, if I come off the throttle and there's any lift off oversteer, it'll just sort of keep going. So I took it off for those purposes. And I've actually softened up the suspension on the rear end. It was on default it's about 35. I've just taken that down, and that's really balanced it out a little bit. On the drivetrain, now as you can see, under the default setup on your preload and clutches, I think it's about something like 6 clutches and 50 Newton meters of torque. You can get the back end out with giving it any more preload or clutches, but I decided to give it the full amount of clutches, which is 10 and 100 Newton meters of torque, because like I said, it has got quite long gears. So if you're in a corner, it's a little bit too fast for first gear, but it's also a little bit too slow for second. If you're in the second gear, you're quite low revs. So you're not in the sweet spot, so you might as well give it a little bit more preload to help overpower that diff with a lot of lock. You cannot change the power and coast ramp settings, probably because it's a road car and the diff just isn't that adjustable. So that's where they are. So that's what I've done, and one very important thing here. It's a little thing, but it's really important. Caster angle, which is kind of how far back the suspension arms lean, on default is at 4. You can go as high as 5. I took that down to 3 because, like I said, you will find this car's always trying to self-center on the steering a lot. It just wants to go in a straight line. I decided to take that down to 3. It's really please try this and tell me what you think. I've taken that down to 3, and it's really made it much more. I can manipulate the steering so much better through corners. So let's have some fun with this just for a lap. And like I said, actually before I say anything more, good point coming up to this corner. This car's got very powerful brakes, but it still takes a long while to stop because it's really heavy. So you've got to start braking early. You can really brake, but as you can see, it just locks up because it's so heavy. So those brakes are powerful enough to stop the wheels, but not the car. But let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. So, come up the throttle a bit, back on the throttle, and flick it around there. Lots of throttle, little bit of brake. I'm not driving particularly well here because I'm very excited, but we should be able to get the back end out quite nicely around here. There we go. Almost full opposite lock going on there. And we will have a look on the replay cameras in a moment to see this. But this is so much fun. This is how I thought the car. This is much more what I thought a car like this would do, and it's much more akin than Mr. Gear. Much more akin to I don't know if you remember things like the excellent Power and the Glory mod for GTR 2 and the excellent historic GT and touring cars mod for R Factor, the original R Factor by ISI. They had Chevrolet Stingrays in them, and this feels a lot more akin to how the cars felt in those mods, and they felt great in those mods. But I also have to say as well, now this car in its own right, in this sim, in its own right, just feels awesome. And I'm just having so much fun driving it. And this is the corner that I sort of have been heard a lot. It's quite hard to get this right, but here we go. There we go. Check it out. So much fun. So much fun. I'm probably going to screw up this next section because there's a couple of sort of... It's downhill, and this corner here gets very, very off camber. There we go. Nearly did it until the exit there. But I just want to drive this car now. Let's see how that looks on the replay. So let's fast forward up to... let's fast forward up to that. That's the one. Let's see how this looks. You know, it's brilliant. You can do this with this car now. Look at that. Oh, the flames spitting out the exhaust there. Anyway, please, if you've not tried this car since the big update, try it now. It's a totally different car. It's fantastic. Let me know what you think in the comments. You know, maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you think my setup's rubbish. But yeah, just tell me what you think in the comments. But if you try it and you enjoy it, I'll be so happy for you because I am. Thank you, Reza, for what you've done. And guys, thank you for watching. And I'll just leave you with this. If you want this channel to survive, do me a favor and hit subscribe. May seem like a small thing to do, but it enables me to make more videos for you. By hitting that button, you can help us thrive. Subscribe and keep this channel alive. Don't cost nothing, don't take no time. Come on now, keep this channel alive.